Good morning. I wanted to make a video about the Alachua Friends of the Library book and record sale that I went to this past Saturday. This was the fall sale. They have two sales a year. The spring sale in April is usually very hot and the building is not air conditioned, so sometimes I skip that one. The October sale is usually a lot nicer, and that's the one that I just went to 2 days ago. So I go to this sale. I travel about 2.5 hours, which is pretty far, but there are people who come from even farther. I've been to it several times, and sometimes you meet people who've traveled from different states to get there. And most of the people go there to buy books, but I have plenty of books, so I mostly just go because I'm interested in seeing what types of records they have. Although they do sell other things, they also have DVD box sets and single DVDs and lots of CDs. So there's all kinds of different things. A lot of people go for children's books. I see entire families there with their kids sometimes. It's just a really interesting sale. There's always something to find. So I put a couple of photos up to show what this sale looks like at the beginning. It's from 9 to 6, and I usually try to get there about 20 minutes before 9. I park a few streets away, and then I walk over and get in this long line that wraps around the block. It actually goes around 2 blocks, as you can see in the photos. So it takes about 15 or 20 minutes for everybody to filter into the building, and by that time it's pretty packed inside. The aisles really get jammed. You have to be very careful walking around people. There are people toting bags, hauling in boxes, pushing boxes around with their feet. It's really kind of crazy, a crazy environment. And when you get down to the record section, it's pretty jammed in there too. And they have records and bins above and below. So it's pretty hard to get into the ones on the lower side. You have to wait till somebody moves out of the way, or just wait until later in the day when it's not as crammed full of people. But I usually just kind of try to wedge myself in when somebody vacates a spot and then look at what's in the bottom bins. A lot of times the bottom bins just have classical, and not a lot of people go there to shop for classical on vinyl, so which is good and bad. It means that a lot of records kind of get overlooked, but it also means that there are some gems to be found in there, and the classical records are dirt cheap at the sale. They usually cost about $0.25. That's another thing. The pricing, most of the vinyl is $0.25, 50 cents, 75 cents, or $1. And then they have individually priced items that could be $1.25 to $3. And then occasionally you'll find something really obscure in there that they might charge $6 or more for, but that's pretty rare. All right, let's move on to what I found at the sale. So I'm gonna just go through all of the records that I bought in the order of price that I paid. So I bought 7 records for $0.25 each, and we'll start off with a classical album, Bartók. This is Violin Concerto No. 1. All of these records are in excellent condition. The people who work there, by the way, the volunteers are amazing. They have endless patience, and they do a good job of sorting through the records, so you don't really find any junk in there. Sometimes you do find a bad disc, but you have plenty of time when you go to the sale, so you can just check everything and make sure that it's kosher. This is a Webley Edwards album on the Sears label. I think this might be the second record I've ever found on the Sears label. Has a really funny cover. I'm guessing it's sort of lounge, Exotica. $0.25, couldn't pass it up. Next up is a WC record by Claudio Arau. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that. It's on the Philips label, a really good label. Everything I've ever found on them is a quality pressing. It's in really nice condition. Almost passed this one up. The disc was a slight bit dodgy, but this is a switched on Bacharach album by Christopher Scott, and it has Do You Know the Way to San Jose, and also a couple of other songs that I have Moog versions of by Wendy Carlos. So I was just kind of curious to hear what another artist's Moog records sound like performing this kind of music. Okay, not sure what label this is on. It looks like it might be a Harmonium Mundi, but I'm not positive. But this is Dietrich Fischer-Dieskau with some compositions of Fauré, Ravel, and Poulenc. Again, a quarter in really fabulous condition. A lot of times these albums are in disc washer VRP type sleeves. That is the classical records that you find at the sale, which is also a nice bonus. Because even if you don't like the album, you get a really rare, valuable sleeve. Next is William Byrd Consort Music. This is on the Florilegium series. I mean, there's not even any ring wear on these records. And moving on to the last of my quarter albums, this is Tomita's Snowflakes Are Dancing. This is a record that I see almost every time I go to the sale. Always find a lot of Tomita there, so I've collected most of his works. This is one that I do not believe I had. It was still in the shrink, and even if I had it, it's a quarter, so I just picked up another copy. Okay, moving on to the 50-cent albums. The first of these is a Felix Slatkin, Paradise Found, recorded in Hawaii. It's got this nice kind of matte finish cover with this die cut panel in the front. Really beautiful artwork inside. Nice back cover also. Again, for 50 cents on the Liberty label. If you're a collector of Exotica, this is a great sale to go to because not a lot of people are there looking for that type of music. And again, just like the classical, you can pick it up dirt cheap. So that's one of the reasons I make the 2.5-hour trip. Okay, a 50-cent Bartok record. This is Suite Number 2, Opus 4, on Seyfel Records, a label I've never heard of. It's a digital recording. Picked up 3 Bartok albums in the sale, by the way. Picked up a couple of Chet Atkins. This is one for 50 cents. This is A Session with Chet Atkins. Looks like this might be a mono recording. In really good shape. And the last of my Bartok LPs for 50 cents, this is Piano Concerto No. 1 on Deutsche Grammophon. Another 50-cent Chet Atkins album. This is Chet Atkins Workshop. And I love the covers on some of these older Chet Atkins recordings. This one shows his oscilloscope in the background. I like the fact that he's looking away from the photographer in the cover image. It's just a really neat composition. Okay, moving on to another guitar prodigy, Les Paul and Mary Ford's Brazil. Also for 50 cents, still in shrink. This is a Pickwick recording. Sometimes these have dodgy sound quality, so I'm hoping that this one will be pretty good. I know the studio conditions were good anyway. And then another 50-cent album, the John Bouzone Trio. Cha 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 on the Rocks. Very, very funny cover art. Reminds me a lot of the Klaus Fluoride album, Cha 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 with Mr. Fluoride. Uses similar cover imagery. John Bouzone Trio is an organ-based lounge act, and I've heard some of their recordings on the Ultra Lounge series of CDs that were released in the 1990s. Really good stuff. Okay, that was the last of my 50-cent albums. Now moving on to some 75-cent purchases. So we have Ray Stevens, I Have Returned, where he's impersonating MacArthur. And then on the back, you can see that the beach he stormed is just full of tourists. Aw. Okay, another 75-cent LP. I had actually been looking for this. This is something you typically find at the sale. Old library copies of poetry readings. This is Ezra Pound reading his poems. And the jacket is not in the greatest shape. The disc did not have any scratches, so I was really happy to find that. Okay, now on to the dollar LPs. The first of these that I picked up was the Beat Street soundtrack, which I have seen many times, but never found a really nice copy that wasn't all beat up for a cheap price, so finally got a copy of that for $1. And this might be the last Tomita record I ever buy, because now I think I have all the ones that I actually want. This is The Planets, and this was $1 in really good condition. And I guess that was all I bought for $1. So moving on into $1.25, we have a Phase 4 label, Exotic Percussion, Stanley Black and His Orchestra. This is a beautiful gatefold. Still has the nice lamination on it. It's not separating anywhere. It's just a really, really nice Exotica record. great find for $1.25. Found a couple of country LPs. This is Roger Miller, King of the Road, with one of these really strange looking 60s or 70s covers. I'm not sure which. Not really that many songs on here, but it's probably every song I want by Roger Miller. This was $1.25. And same goes for this one, Marty Robbins, El Paso. I really wanted the song El Paso on vinyl, so here I have the album. This was $1.50. And I found a nice Martin Denny album for $1.50, still in the shrink wrap. This is a stereo pressing. This might be kind of a compilation, although it has, I don't believe it actually has a title, it just says Martin Denny. And the last of my country LPs, Phantom 309, Red Sovine. This one's in really great shape. Usually when you find these old trucker albums, they're all beat up and the discs are completely scratched and unlistenable. Okay, this is an odd one. This is Environments, The Magic of Psychoacoustic Sound. Has some funny blurbs on it. It's better than booze and safer than pot. Highly addictive, etc. I really like the cover. It's still in shrink. I imagine it probably sounds like a Muzak LP, but for $2, I figured I'd take a chance on it. Now this next one was a really surprising find for $2. This is, I believe, a Folkways pressing. Yep. And this is an interview with Henry Miller for $2. In excellent condition. And that was the last of my spoken word LPs, so... Moving on to some Afro-Cuban music, we have the Walter Wanderley Trio with Shaganka on Verve. Nice gatefold. This one does have a hole punch down in the corner, but other than that, it's in great shape. And I picked up my first ever copy of Emmylou Harris's Elite Hotel. This one was also $2, really nice shape. I believe I have a copy of this already. This is the first Exotica record I ever bought, Exotica by Martin Denny. And I might just use this to frame the cover art. That was $2 also. Okay, and let's see. This is the last of the $2 albums. Another Exotica record, Arthur Lyman, Ili Kai. Okay, moving on to the more expensive records. So here we have A Flock of Seagulls, first LP released domestically. Funny story about this. Here's the back cover. This was $2.50. It's in fantastic condition. And this is the third copy of this LP I've ever bought. The first one was in England in 1985. I eventually traded that one at some point. I'm not sure why. The second copy I bought here a few years ago was a Japanese pressing with the Obi strip. And this is, I think, the first domestic copy of this album I've ever owned. So I was really happy to find that. I love this album. Okay, this one was $3, and it is an Arthur Lyman record, Buona A. So an Exotica LP. Looks like it's on the Everest label. And another $3 LP, Johnny McLaughlin. Well, that's John McLaughlin, of course, the famous jazz fusion prog guitarist. I'm not familiar with this LP. And for $3.50, I've never seen this before, the soundtrack to Slaughterhouse-Five, music by Glenn Gould. Looks like it's in great shape. That was all the vinyl that I bought at the sale, and to wrap up this video, I wanted to go over a few CD and DVD purchases, so if you're only interested in vinyl, you can turn the video off at this point, but for those of you who might be interested in what types of CDs they have at the sale, they had a really good jazz collection that was turned in by somebody. They donated it, and these were actually a little more expensive than I figured they would be, but even so, they were a steal. So I got Milton Jackson's Sunflower for $3. A little gatefold copy. This is a great album. I think it has a few bonus tracks on it, and I have a very nice copy of this on vinyl already, but just couldn't pass it up for $3. Found this one. This is on the Wounded Bird boutique label. This is Lenny White Venusian Summer. This is a pretty rare thing to find on CD, and it took me forever to track this record down on vinyl, which I do have. I finally had to order a copy off of eBay because I couldn't find it in a record store anywhere. Great album. Another Lenny White. This one is The Adventures of Astral Pirates, and I believe this is also Wounded Bird. Yes, it is. So another nice little rare CD, nice packaging. That was $3 as well. I was really surprised to find this. This was $1, Os Mutantes. And I believe this might be, I think the album is actually just called Mutantes. Never even seen this before. I couldn't believe I found that for $1, so that was very exciting. Found a couple of Bobby Hutcherson CDs. These were $3. This is Montara. This is on Blue Note. And I also found for $3 Ambos Mundos by Bobby Hutcherson. And this is on the Landmark Records label. And then finally, wrapping up the CDs, I was really excited to find this little stack. And these were all $1 each. I couldn't believe the price on these. These are by Pucho and the Latin Soul Brothers. So first I have the seminal albums Heat and Jungle Fire. I doubt I'll ever be able to afford a copy of either one of those albums on vinyl, so it's really cool to have that on CD. Another one I've never seen before, this is How Am I Doing? For some reason it has a BB in the CD case. That's what you hear rattling around there. Pucho, The Hideout. And the last one for $1 we have Super Freak. This one has some really cool packaging too. So those were my CDs. Spent a lot on CDs, more than I normally do, but I felt like I got my money's worth. And then finally, I did buy some DVD box sets there. These were all in great shape, really super cheap. I've been meaning to watch Mad Men, and this is Mad Men Season 1. This was $4. Found a documentary called Scratch about DJ mixing and scratching that has, let's see who's on this, Africa Bambaataa, Jazzy J, DJ Crush, etc. This one was $2.50. A couple of seasons of Aqua Teen Hunger Force that I didn't have, Season 2 and Season 3. These were $2 a piece. I remember when these things came out, if you went to FYE or someplace like that, they charged about $25 for these little box sets. Really excited to find this. They have a lot of BBC video titles at the sale. I found the first series of I'm Alan Partridge with Steve Coogan, a show that I'm a huge fan of. Also found Shetland with Doug Henshaw. I've watched all 4 seasons of this with my wife. It's a great show. This is seasons 1 and 2, which cost me $5. And finally, the BBC complete series 1 and 2 and the special, the BBC production of The Office, for $4. So, very cool. Right, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap this video up. Thank you for watching. It was a lot of fun to make, and I can't wait until the next sale. I might go to the one in April if it's not too hot. So, I'll see you guys soon.